So there's three types of lids essentially. There's lots of lids, but they're basically these three types: the flange lid, a cap lid, and a gallery lid. So lids work by having a locking mechanism, which is the flange. So a flange lid is named after the locking mechanism, but each lid has a flange, and the flange is what holds it in place. So without the flange, the lid would just go sliding off. So for this teapot, we're gonna make a flange lid. So we need just a couple parts. So we're gonna roll out a slab of clay for this, and you could do this as a group, or you could make a couple to have some backup parts. But what we want is to roll out a slab of clay and to cut out the lid piece right here. So just kind of a circle, and then some strips, which will be the flange. So the lid is going to be a flat piece. We're gonna give it a little bit of an arch. And then the flange piece is going to be a strip of clay that's rolled up. And then we're gonna cut that to size to fit inside your teapot. We can use a calipers, which I'll show you guys that tool. We can use that to size it as needed, or you can also just kind of eyeball it. So today what we need to collect are these two pieces. We can get the knob as well, but we can do that later also. But the pieces that we need are the lid and the flange. Okay, so the lid right here should be bigger than the rim. We'll cut it down to size, but we probably want it to overhang the rim a little bit. And the flange here, we want that to fit on the inside of the rim. Okay, so the lid should hang over by quite a bit, as much as you can right now, kind of big, oversized, and then the rim should roughly fit that interior space. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. We're going to size it later, but we're just collecting our pieces. Oh, and lastly, we said we wanted the lid to have an arch. So I think a nice way to collect your pieces is to set it on the rim so it kind of falls into that arch form, and then we'll just place the flange on top of that. Okay, so I just rolled out this slab of clay here, and I'm gonna smooth out both sides first, because smoothing equals compression. So I'm smoothing this. I need three pieces for my teapot: the knob, the lid, and the flange. So the first piece I'm going to collect is my lid piece. It's going to fit and cover this opening. I have an over-the-top handle, so the widest the lid can be is the space in between the handles. I want it to cover this hole entirely, but it can't be any bigger than that. So I'm going to use this tool here, a calipers, to take this measurement. So that's the biggest that my lid can be, is that size right there. Okay, so with my calipers set to this dimension, I'm going to cut off a little piece that I think is going to be more than enough to make my lid. I'm going to save the rest of this in case I need another piece and to make the flange. So I'm going to move this to the side for right now. And there's lots of ways you can do this. I'm going to put this on the banding wheel and cut this out. So I've got this on the banding wheel. The banding wheel is nice because you can turn it and draw a line. So I've got this spinning. Just going to draw a quick line. I drew it wider than I think I need, so it gives me a starting point, and I can come in a little bit from that. Let's see where that lines up. A little too small now. So I wanna give myself some room right now to be able to cut this down later when I start to assemble it. So I'm leaving it a little bit big, and that looks perfect right there. So I'm gonna cut that out. Now I have a line. I'm making this as big as I can because this is wet clay. When this firms up and becomes leather hard and I can assemble it, then I can trim it down and get a more true or accurate fitting to this. So I've got this piece cut out. With these, I think they're kind of boring if they're just flat. So I like to give it just a little bit of a bend. I'm just kind of have my thumb on one side and my fingers are just kind of cupping it a little bit. I'm gonna put that to the side for 1 second. Now with the rest of this, I need to make my flange piece. So we're just gonna rough estimate this. There's a couple ways that you can do this. You can use the calipers to measure the interior dimension of this. So that's the flange. Remember, the flange fits inside there and is the locking mechanism. So that fits inside this. The lid fits over it. The flange fits inside it. So I can take this piece and bend this around to make my flange. I can use my calipers to kind of give me a rough estimate, guesstimate. This guy's gonna be really tiny. And that's pretty close right there. It does not have to be exact at all right now. The other way I could check it is just kind of holding it up. Yeah, a little bit bigger. And just kind of seeing it that way. And that's a fine way to do it, I think, too. Okay, so the last thing we're gonna do is kind of wrapping this thing up. When I store this, this is almost dry and it's super fragile, so I want to be really careful. It's about bone dry, so if I bump this and break it, it's toast. This has a slight arc to it, so I'm gonna put it arc side down, so it kind of hangs. So the rim is kind of holding it steady and it's just hanging there. And then I'm gonna take my flange and set that on top and wrap this all up together, being so stinking careful. I didn't collect a knob, and I'll make a separate video for knobs, but knobs can be so simple. You know, with this extra clay here, you know, I can make all kinds of fun little pieces. I could use some texture tools, make impressions on that. That could become a knob. Later on, I can cut that to make it fit. All kinds of fun, funky things. Be a little, whatever. So knobs we'll get to in a separate video, but the main parts that we need right now for our lid are our flange and our lid piece. See how it fits right in there?